Hi, Jaybird here, Jay Bradford from Jaybird's Nest. And this week I want to continue our discussion of the anatomy of change. As I said previously in the previous video, change has similar stages to the stages of grief. When studies were done, it was determined that a lot of the changes we go through, stages we go through, while dealing with a major life change are the same as those stages we go through in grief. Excuse me. The first stage is shock. That's the initial presentation of the change. That can be your boss saying you got to move cross country, you're being transferred. That can be the loss of a loved one. That can be you decide to move back in with your parents. I mean, it can be anything. And it's that initial surprise and shock, good or bad, that you are presented with a change. The second stage is the denial. That's when we do our bargaining, our disbelief, looking for validation that it isn't real. That's when we look for reasons why this can't be happening to us, good or bad. Again, either we're not worthy, or, oh no, this can't be happening to me, or it's a mistake, or it's too good to be true, any of those kind of things. Then the third stage is the frustration. And this is where, of course, anger seeps in. But this is where we're dealing with all of the things we have to do to set up for the change, the arrangements we have to make, the things we have to do in order to make the change happen, setting those up, making appointments, doing paperwork, making any kind of arrangements, that kind of thing. And that's where, in grief especially, the anger comes in. You're angry that you're left in this position. You're angry that something took your loved one away. You're angry that your boss is making you travel cross country, move cross country. You're angry that you've been demoted, whatever it is. Even if it's a good move, you're angry that you got to do all this stuff just to get to where you want to go. Then the fourth stage is the low spot. That's the depression. That's where we're at our lowest. We're exhausted, where we have no energy. We are just tired of the fight, and we do one of two things. We either start up the other side and get moving again, or we stop. We give up. Sometimes we decide it's not worth it. Now, probably about 80% of the time, that's a wrong decision. But it's still one you have to make. At that point, you're faced with a decision. You either go on and go through the change, or you stop. If we're not brave enough, we stop. If we're brave enough, we go on. Then the next stage, the fifth stage, is where we're starting up the other side of that curve. It's the experiment stage. This is where we test our boundaries. This is where we start realizing that this can be something good. I can maybe get behind this change. And we do the initial engagement with the situation. Well, what if I do this? Will this work? Will this get me closer to the change? Well, how about if I do this? Will it make it easier to do that? That kind of thing. Then the sixth change is the decision. This is when we're actually learning how to work with our new situation. We're actually we're making the move. We're seeing where the best places are to go in our new town, or we're making new friends where we've decided to live, or we realize that our life isn't going to end because we've lost our loved one. We realize we really can go on, that there is still life out there for us, that we don't have to stop right where we are. This is where we really start feeling more positive about the change, and we're getting behind the program of the change. Now, in the past, when I've worked with companies and it's been a systems or programs change that the company wanted the employees to get behind, and we had to work through this process, this is where the employees start buying in. This is where they start realizing that it's not all bad, that it's something that will benefit them in some way or another. And they start getting behind the change and start going with the change, and it starts becoming a positive thing instead of a negative thing. Then the seventh stage is the actual integration. And this is when we have integrated the change into our life. We have, we're renewed. We realize that, hey, I came through that change. I did it and I came through it and I'm better for it. And this is a good thing, and I'm going on from here. Morale and competence increase after the stage 4, after the depression. As you start up the other side, morale and competence in the workplace especially improves. There's not the resistance that was there before. There's not the sabotage that was there before. And whether it's self-sabotage because we don't think we're good enough or worthy or whatever, or whether it's trying to sabotage the change because we don't want to change, like in the workplace, digging our heels in and not going with it. As we start up the other side, that ceases, that lessens, that shows who's really gonna survive the change and who isn't. And that's when companies especially will be able to identify employees that are going to be problematic, or employees that will be promoting the change and being positive in the situation, and will go on to be better employees and will move up the ladder accordingly. It's in the depression stage that we actually start accepting the change. We either do or we don't. We test our understanding of the change. We decide, is the change good for us or not? We search for new meaning through the change, and then we integrate it into our life. Change is never easy, but change is inevitable. We all go through change, and how we navigate that change and how we present ourselves into the change makes all the difference in the outcome. If you're faced with a major life change and you want a positive outcome, then you have to look for the positive in the change, because there's always negative and positive in any change. There are always good things about it and bad things about it. There's always give and take. But to be successful through the change, you have to look for the positive. You have to look for the good things in the change. How can it benefit you? Guaranteed, good or bad change, there's going to be some way that it will benefit you. And you have to be strong enough to look for that. And if you look, you'll find it. And once you find that positive benefit for yourself, the change will be much easier and much easier to deal with. But as I've said before, anybody who's facing a major change, don't go through it alone if you don't have to. Ask for help, whether it's a loved one, a friend, a coworker. Don't go through it alone. Seek out someone who does coaching in change. I do. There are many other people online and offline that are very good at it. There's a lot of us out there that can help you, but reach out to somebody. If you have any questions or would like to get in touch with me, ask me questions, whatever, my information will be below. I will have my website. I will have my email address. Feel free to email me. If you like the videos I've been giving, please give it a thumbs up. And if you so choose, subscribe to the channel. And that way you won't miss anything. Okay, you have a great week, and I'll see you next week. Jaybird out.